charging bouncing balls. Toby, it's been a little while. How are you?
It's been great. Well, it has been a couple weeks, right? I mean, two
I'm
two
not
and a
gonna
half
lie.
weeks.
I was thinking back to the last time we talked, and there's been a lot of stuff that's happened in the world.
Yeah,
So yeah, we've missed a lot of different topics. But yeah, it's been at least 3 weeks since we had a podcast. So
yeah, that's all right. It was a good end of summer break. Life's been busy. I know for you too with sport and everything going on. So there was nothing wrong with taking a little break and recharging the old batteries.
yeah, and don't get me wrong. I know you're super busy too, but it's my fault that we have. Toby has called me a couple times, been like, "Hey, can we go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, not gonna happen." So it's my fault. I apologize. Toby is much more committed than I am.
Less going on, I should say. Less paying attention to the old family and more trying to get on the old podcast.
Yeah, but it's been good. So yeah, it's man, we've had a lot going on. Anything you want to start off with stuff that's in your world?
Man, well, soccer season is in full effect. We had, let me turn that down. We had, what did we have? A game this past weekend with our first E64. I don't know quite what that means, but it's a pretty big deal. Michigan came to town. SOAR, Soccer Organization of something. I tell you, though, going from the U15 to the U16, you see the more aggressive play. The girls
Mm,
came out of Michigan that, man, they were slide tackling and they were involved in not dirty by any means, but it's getting more physical, which is fun to watch.
well, it's Michigan, so what do you expect?
I didn't want to say it, they were dirty as hell, but that's okay. But
I
we
mean, I
came
lived
out
there for
victorious.
I lived there for
Yeah,
6
look at
years.
you now.
Yeah,
Look at how
I
dirty
mean,
you are, right?
I know. So yeah, we
Kid
came
was
up
walking
victor.
to. I was gonna say, kid was walking to the bathroom that you tripped him, just because.
Tripped and pushed him from behind. Oh yeah, no, it's yeah, they was definitely an aggressive game, and you could see that amp up, as they've gotten older, and that's what you have to expect. I mean, you see a little bit of that in the high school game. The difference in the high school game is you just get such a mixing of players, like really good players and players that are just kind of feeling it out, and so it's not. I don't feel like it's quite as aggressive, but yeah, like a little bit more, I would say, than high school aggressiveness.
Well, everybody's on the same playing field, like you said. In high school, you might be 14, 15, playing with 18-year-olds, and there's kind of a little bit of, I'm not going to go running through the center. I mean, there's
Right,
there's there's women out there, so we're kind of all coming up together.
right.
Um, I, 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 I have to admit, got yelled at. Got yelled at
Yeah.
on the sidelines.
Hey, passionate guy.
Well, this is the second time, right? First time we were broadcasting, and I said something to the center guy, and he asked me if I wanted to watch from the car, which wasn't a bad option that day. It was very hot, and I could have had the air conditioner on.
Uh,
But Saturday, and I went back and watched the tape, and there was a goal scored by the Mighty Loons, and the AR came out of nowhere, right? He was hiding in a tree, came running on the field, waving his little flag as fast as he could. And he
Hiding in the
said that
deer
the
stand on a
goalie,
3-day drunk.
right, I think he was. He was 12 cans of Pabst into the day.
It was a 30
But the goal,
pointer.
he said, he said the goalie had her hand on the ball, which was sort of true, right? She had like a digit. And they called that possession. We ended up kicking the ball into the net. The AR called it back. The center guy said that's a goal, and he pointed at the circle. And we were all excited, right? We scored a goal. We're on the board. Things are great.
Right.
And then AR boy came running in, and that's where I blame Jake Zalewski. He told me the center guy's name, Gary. So I said, "Come on, Gary, be better," which is obviously just a suggestion.
Right.
And our AR on our side starts barking at me like, "You can't tell me you can see that far," and I'm like, "You can't tell me what I can and can't see." But I felt we did a good job of calming down.
I think what we learned out of this though is this is all Jake's fault.
100%. Because then he
I
told
mean,
me the ARs. He's like, "Well, that's Gary," and then the guy that yelled at you is Greg, and I'm like, "Well, don't tell me that." I mean, I have a problem with opening my mouth, especially when they're yelling at our kids. Be
hmm
better, Greg.
right.
But I did hear Greg's got kind of a complex. Or he's from Kimberly. I didn't
Mhm.
want to say that, but he's from Kimberly, right? So I don't think his, what stinks.
Can't help everyone.
No, no. And then to make it worse, I came out of the soccer park coming around the roundabout at Mach 2, and what did I run into? Captain Kick Ass Copperino pulled me over. I did get a warning, thank God.
He's a Bayport fan. He knew you.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
recognized you from the
It
show.
was it was in Appleton. Thank God he took care of me because I didn't need that ticket. I got enough bills going out.
Amen. Speaking of Bayport, I saw that the old Coach Lafleur filmed a couple episodes in football uniform, and he did it at Bayport High School. What's the story
Really,
on
I did
this?
not know that.
What? How do I know
I
this and
got
you don't know
I
this?
I have no idea.
Wow. Yeah.
But I think they
Apparently,
help pay for our turfs or something. They should.
there you go. Tapping into the big money. But yeah, apparently the new episodes for whatever I don't know what it's Cellcom or something. They did it at Bayport High School. Bayport High School
Well, it
is now
makes
famous.
sense. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of good football fields around here. A lot of news, but they're it just make we have really good parking.
Flambeau, Bayport.
Yeah. Speaking of parking, and I don't think we've talked since. I went to the Bayport Kimberly game in Kimberly,
Oof.
right? And we came out of practice and we had my daughter and her friend, and I dropped them off. I circled for like 15 minutes trying to find a parking spot anywhere near that stadium, and it wasn't going to happen. I parked at the YMCA and walked. I'm like, why am I walking? It was ridiculous.
That's a long ways.
Tell me about it. I made it by halftime. I was there so late. Even the lady's like, "You just go in. You look like you just ran a marathon. You don't have to pay." And I'm like, maybe I can afford a soda now.
That's kind of like Gerke Field and Stevens Point. It's like right in the middle of the city, and there's literally just little teeny parking spots. So everybody parks blocks away. I mean, you end up walking easily 4, 5, 6 blocks just to get to the stadium. So yeah,
Do they get a lot of people? Because Kimberly gets a lot of people. They don't care.
yeah. You know what? I mean, talking about Spash. Spash is now 4-1, 4-1 or 5-1. We've had one loss, so we're actually really good. We're actually ranked, which is amazing. But we're our section, the entire visitor side is probably 75%, 50 to 75%, somewhere in that range. I mean, it's pretty, but the home side is packed. I mean, we're getting, I would guesstimate somewhere in the 3,000 people there. I don't know. It's a lot of people. I'm actually pretty impressed. There's a lot of people in the stands. The student section is bigger than I've ever seen it. Winning solves a lot of things.
Didn't you say a couple episodes ago that they struggle?
Well, that was the game we came off McQuantico and we got our tails kicked. But we've been doing pretty good. We beat Hudson, which is a ranked team. They were like fourth in the state or something, and then we fourth. I don't know. They were somewhere in the top 10. And then we just took down DC Everest. They were undefeated. Not anymore.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they're doing really good this year. They're playing really well. Undersized still, but they're playing really well. So yeah, good for. But yeah, anyways, back to the stands are full, which is great. So yeah, parking has been pretty tough.
Yeah. Get there early.
Yep, got to get there early. Use
Yeah.
use GoFan.
But
Is that what you guys use? GoFan?
I think so. We use
Okay.
something.
All right.
I got to buy the season pass before soccer season because I guess they're going to charge soccer now. Even though they didn't at the boys, so I wonder if they're going to do it at the girls. So
Ooh, Title IX violation.
let me repeat that. I heard they're going to charge at all games this year.
Anyways. Well, I don't know what I said, but we had 7 viewers live, and we're down to 2. So we must have said something to offend quite a few people.
Yeah, went 1 to 7 in a hurry and then back down. And I think I'm the one because my phone's on the Facebook so I can read the comments.
Nice. So anyway, I will say this: we got to thank Paul Adamski, and we're both wearing these hats. I mean, friend of the show, Paul Adamski, coming through in the clutch with some nice headgear. Thanks, Paul.
Right, and it's says the Mighty Loons
Oof,
fitted.
it's beautiful.
This is a great hat.
It was a good hat.
I don't like a lot of hats, but I like this hat. So this one's going to get worn.
Good one. Good hat. Actually, wear that Velocity
Yeah.
hat he gave us quite a bit too. Those are good hats.
It's the same style, right? And then I got a Bayport lacrosse hat that's got that self-fitting, like it conforms to whatever side noodle you have. So that's what I like.
Cool. So, how's Bayport doing at all the sports?
Football took 2 losses right away. They played Medford, and then they got beat by Kimberly in a tight game. But they got last minute. They got a field goal, or I wasn't paying attention. I was there, but and then they've won since. They've got into conference, and our conference struggles. Preble, Ashwaubenon. We play Southwest this weekend. We beat Pulaski, which was a good. We kind of pounded Pulaski, where last year it was a lot tighter of a game. So we always walk through conference because we play, Green Bay schools, and they just don't have it.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
In
So it's all about playoffs for us.
tennis is doing well.
Tennis is doing well. We lost our number 1 player for a week.
Oof.
She was actually in a tournament in Las Vegas and high ankle sprain. She was out for a week. Of course, that week we played Notre Dame and De Pere, which were our 2 biggest ones. But so we took 2 L's. But
Ouch.
we're down to 2. 2 matches left. So tomorrow night, senior night. I didn't think I'd ever be in the position to walk across anything with my kids because when you're younger, you just you watch all these senior parents. You're like, oh wow, look at that, so great. Now I'm one of them.
Wow.
I don't feel like a senior parent. I mean, I look like I got 7th graders, with my age and my look. But so tomorrow I'll walk the stage and yeah,
That's pretty crazy.
break down, maybe a couple tears.
Oh boy. Easy there, killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I you know what? We don't even have to really go through that because Isaac next year is a senior, but they don't do that for cross country. They don't do like a senior night. I don't think we'll have to experience that, and they don't do it for track either, which is his other sport. So the first one we'll probably have it would be Amelia during hockey, because again, cross country we won't do it. So yeah, we got a few years to go yet. Won't have to experience that.
Right. And that's one of the things. It's funny because you go through life and you have all this years of growing up together, and then like now we're starting to go through lasts.
Mm-hmm.
She's got two tennis matches that are her last. We have parent night, and then they'll do regionals and sectionals, and if they make state, but then that's it. Their high school tennis career is over. I'm happy she is playing lacrosse in the spring.
Okay.
So that's fun. So there's another sport to be had, but yeah, it's interesting. Being a senior and 18, she doesn't spend much time around me. She's got friends and they're doing things, so it's fun to watch. We pressed the button yesterday and submitted her college application.
Oh boy.
Stevens Point.
Nice place.
Yeah, so we're gonna probably do Oshkosh, and then I just got an email for her from Milwaukee that asked to, they're generous, but said why don't you apply? So we're gonna probably do that school too, and she has a good opportunity if she wants to play tennis in college. at the D3 level at Oshkosh and Milwaukee, or I'm sorry, in Point. We had our first Zoom call, which I got to sit in, which was very interesting from a coach's point
Hmm.
of view, and the questions they asked. It was great. He knew who she was. We had met him.
Okay.
Really good guy. That's coaching at the Pointers. But he really talked and asked questions about, how do you handle your time? How do you handle your, stress and things? I think it's kind of more based on a freshman moving out of the house, and are you going to be able to handle school plus 20 hours a week? Because they figured, he said we're a D3 program and we're 20 hours a week with practices and lifting. I asked if they do study halls, and he said we really don't because they kind of turn into film sessions. So but they check grades, and that's what we really liked about it was the fact that she'll be held accountable,
Yeah.
not by me 2 hours away, but by a coach that if she wants to play, she's got to keep her grades up.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I've heard a few people talk about recruiting stuff in their meetings and the questions are always, I think in our heads we have this idea that questions are always, well, what's your 40 time, or it's athletic things, and they almost never ask about the sport. They never ask about like techniques or anything like that. It's always ancillary items. It's the stuff that's outside. They're always picking around like different areas of your life that you wouldn't necessarily first think about because of you think it's somewhat sport related, which I always find kind of interesting.
Right. And it kind of threw me for a loop because I didn't expect him to say, "Hey, what's your record? How are you playing? Who are you playing next?" And it was just kind of, we did film today. She had a lesson leading up to regionals, and so I went over and helped film. And her coach that for training is actually the St. Norbert coach, John. He's fantastic, and so he kind of walked us through what the tape should reveal and everything. So we have to cut that up and send that, and we'll send that to a couple schools. And it's interesting that we got this
Hmm.
far because Allie I don't think she wanted anything to do with college sport. And then all of a sudden you get an email one day from one of the coaches like, we're really interested in you playing for us. And now I bet you there's 7 coaches have reached
That's
out.
pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and Max says good point. Colleges want kids that fit in their school, not just good athletes. And that's kind of the book we read. I forget the name of the book. Renee Lopez is the author. And I've tried to get her on the show, but we don't have enough podcasts. She needs 100. But it's the broken leg test. If you break your leg while playing sports, is that college for you?
Hmm.
And I agree with that. And then the coach today for the John is like, you know what? At the end of the day, if you don't want, if you go to Point and you don't like it, transfer.
Right.
Put yourself in the portal, right? Go to Oshkosh
Right.
or go if you want to play D3. We're not driving to Alabama here to talk to the Crimson Tide, but if you have a couple good years, move up to
Right.
D2. You never
Yeah.
know. So I'm just excited. She's excited, which is a good
That's
feeling.
awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. Hey, Point's a great school. Like I always enjoyed it when I was there. And when I first went there versus the other college that I started with, the other university, I thought it was amazing. There's a lot of really cool things about Point. They're getting a brand new library. I don't know if they told you that. They just knocked down the library. It is fully demoed, or well, and there's a couple spires yet that they got to knock down, but then they're going to build a brand new state-of-the-art library. So she'll have that to study in.
Seems like a waste of money. I'm going to be honest with you. Do you know most colleges have libraries?
It's crazy.
I mean, the college I went to, they
Hmm.
didn't.
Surprised.
At least not that I knew.
You never
Yeah,
saw it.
I did walk. Right, I did walk through the college at Northern Michigan because it was snowing out. So I walked through the library to get to another
Hmm.
building. But yeah, why do they need them? Everything's on computers instead of microfiche. Remember, you had to dial up the month and the year, and they'd bring a roll
Oh
and you'd
yeah.
run it through this big. You'd scroll, looking at newspapers from the '70s. Man, that was awesome.
Yeah. Who goes to the library anyway? I mean, really.
dude, the people that go there are is mentally challenged, right? I mean, there's disease.
obviously.
But holy crap! I mean, it is like whoa, easy, buddy. That sandwich is a sandwich, not a doll that you're talking to. But I
It
get
re-
it.
it
We're all
reminds
different.
me of we were sitting one night as a family, and we were camping and we were going to sleep. And my son Isaac, who tends to be a little more intellectual than some, was talking about something hoity-toity smart, right? And all of a sudden, my youngest daughter goes, "Shut up, nerd." It's one of the best moments ever. It was so awesome. She just right out of the blue, "Shut up, nerd." So it's been like this thing that we do now. Anytime anybody's talking smart, we just shut up, nerd.
That's so
Oh, it was so
fantastic.
good.
Because Macy's in some AP classes, and I'm always like, "How's the nerd today?"
That's Isaac. He's always in the AP
So
stuff.
much smarter than me.
So yeah,
Yeah,
anyways, that's who goes to libraries.
nerds. So yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Half hour. He asked for tape. He wants us to come over and see a match. So I
That's
was pretty
awesome.
happy with
That's
it.
really cool. Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit when Jason Chaplin was on. He talked about the recruiting process, kind of what he went through, and with his sons, and just some of the different aspects that you wouldn't necessarily think of. That yeah, it sounds like that mirrored that a little bit as well.
Yeah, very much so. So it'll be exciting. I don't know. I don't know. Here, I went to college for a social degree. I enjoyed as I played club, less
Hmm.
restrictions. You know, nobody tested us for anything. It was just better for me,
Right,
just
of
me.
course.
Everybody else take their forge your own path, as they say.
All right. Well, if she needs help getting plugged into the social pipeline, just let me know. We sure.
Well, I did. It's funny. I brought you up. I'm like, hey, we have an
That's right.
ally over there. If you get in trouble or you need a place for a good ice
That's
cream
right.
cone,
Alumni. Introduced you to a whole bunch of people. Did she know what she wants to major in?
business with like a side of
Jeez,
hospitality, and then
business, man. I know the business people. I know a bunch of the professors. There we go.
dude, we're gonna walk through this college. Yes,
There,
yes. I don't know what's gonna take, but I'm in.
sounds good. Well, that's awesome. Well, good for her. And you said she did
Yeah.
get
So
accepted. Everything's all in order. Everything's good. Oh,
we just put. Yeah, we just
oh,
applied
gotcha.
yesterday.
Okay, okay. It'll be fine. It'll be good.
It does say I did research point Oshkosh, and they both say slight
Don't
competitive.
worry. We got this.
I did put a picture and your name on the $20 bill that I
I can
sent
reach
with
out
it.
to one of the heads of actually the head of the business department. Put in a good word.
We're not there
Yeah.
yet. We'll use
Okay.
that
All
when
right.
we
All
need
right.
it.
Sounds good. He's a good guy. His kids play soccer at Bash now, which is crazy. But yeah. So, anyways, we'll make it happen.
That's the kind of connection we need. There we go. Now we're talking.
Uh,
Now we're talking.
so yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. So I'd be remiss if I didn't share a little bit about what happened since the last time we talked. I did share this out just tonight. I forgot to do it on judging bouncing balls. It's kind of crazy. Um, but we actually had a national event happen at Spash, which is kind of crazy. So we had, I know you saw this with the whole the cross country thing. So we had well, if you didn't see it yet, what we had was a kid that was finishing. He was in second place. He was finishing a cross country race, and the kid actually he was in third place, and the kid that was in second fell down. And when he fell down, the kid that was in third passed him right at the finish line. And right before he crossed the finish line, he didn't cross. He stopped and he went backwards and he actually helped the kid up. And then another runner from our school was in fourth place. They came up and they helped the kid up and they helped him cross the finish line. Was caught on somebody got it on film, which is awesome. But I got home and I do our social media, and so I wrote up a little piece on it. Didn't think much of it. Thought it was really cool. Submitted it. Ended up finding the video later. Tagged that, and lo and behold, this thing went nuts. I mean, we had it was the craziest experience, Toby. And this is part of the reason I was so dang busy, was because it went viral. Like we talk viral, it went viral, and it ended up reaching multiple national syndicates. We got reached out to by Good Morning America. We had the nightly news, NBC Nightly News reached out. We tracked all as much as we could. We don't know all the places it got shared, but of the areas we were able to track, it reached well over 7 million people. Like, went crazy. I mean, it went way crazy. And so it was really a fun thing for Spash. Like now the technical story on this is when you help a kid up, the two should have been disqualified. Everybody should have been. The judge, you know, the judges at the time decided not to disqualify for varying reasons. So the judges, we didn't influence the judges. The judges made their own decision. They decided not to disqualify him, but it was a really cool story. I mean, if you haven't had a chance, I shared it out. Go check it out. It's just like one of those things where sportsmanship took over and it didn't really matter. The kids now know that if that was like a state qualifying match or something, you don't help the kid because you get disqualified. But it was just really cool. It was a neat, if you know anything about cross country runners, that's just the way that they are. They are very competitive, but they're also a big fraternity, even if they're not from school, from that school. They'll help each other up. They'll encourage each other, it's really a neat thing when you talk about how uber competitive they are, but then how supportive they are of everybody else. So it was really cool to see. And so it was nuts, man. It went crazy. And I'm seeing my stupid stuff that I wrote. I'm not a writer. I wrote this post and then they're like quoting it in articles like all over the place. I'm like, it was nuts. It was cool to be a part of. It was really fun. Our social media side, I ended up having to turn a lot of it off to our communications director at the district because it got so nutty. But yeah, it was really fun. It was a good time.
That's completely
Yeah,
really
I
unbelievable.
really was. And then I felt bad because the week that we beat Hudson, remember Hudson was doing really well, and we beat Hudson. One of their guys got injured in the game, and there was this like he had to get stretchered off. Like this ambulance came, they had to take him to the hospital. It was horrible, right? But our football team, I was really impressed. They were going over and actually giving the coach, the opposing team, they were hugging the opposing players, the coaches. I mean, it was a really good moment. Like everybody was really caring for this kid, and that I didn't share. I felt terrible. I didn't even put it out there, but like there was two really cool moments like back to back for the school sportsmanship wise. But yeah, it was a good part, a good thing to be a part of. So so we're not the jerks that everybody makes us
Oh,
out to
shoot.
be.
You think next time? No, no, you're not the. Never mind. We know who. Next time, could you be like, I'm Jeremy, co-founder of
Yeah,
the podcast Judgy Bounce Balls, and I'd love to share with you my
right.
story.
Yeah, no.
Maybe we could get some love.
Just throw it in there. Covered by judging bouncing balls. Next
You can
next
contact
time
them
that
at this
happens, I'll do
number.
that. Yeah, I'll just subtly tag us in there. So, anyways,
No, that's incredible. I saw the story right away, and you could just see it sharing, and just hundreds, and like, around here it just got to I think 800, and then it
yeah,
disappeared into my feed. But 7 million
yeah. I
people,
think
that's
it was like
crazy.
20 news outlets shared it, and then there were even ones that we didn't even know about, which was just kind of crazy. So, but yeah, it's just it was weird to be a part of something that went viral and like helping the kids get with the like Good Morning America and the national syndicates. And I mean, they hated the attention. The coach hated the attention. You talked about, hey, can we get him on the show? No bueno. He was like, I just want to run. I just want my kids to run. And he's a really successful coach. I mean, he's been around since the 70s. He's won 14 state titles, I think. He's written a book on it. I mean, like, he's super successful, but he just doesn't like the limelight. So, just one of those things.
Send them my way. I love the limelight.
We'll do. We'll do. So, anyways, that's what we got going here. Otherwise, sports season's been great here at Spash. I know we did a little announcement for the show. Spash Girls Soccer did book on May 11th. Set your calendars. Bayport High School. It's happening. Coming to the
Coming
big
to the
city.
big
I will be on
city.
the sidelines. We will not be able. I will not be able to stream that with you. So sorry.
I don't really stream high
The
school
rules.
because they got the cameras, and being a freshman parent last year is different. So maybe this year though I'll
Mm.
step it out of the box and give some commentary. I still think me and you need to find a small town and go do a football game.
It
I
would be
think we'd
kind of
have a
fun.
blast. Amherst.
Yes,
We should do
it
the
would be
football
fun.
game at
They
Amherst.
historically they're usually really good. They've had a down year though. I think they have 2 or 3 losses this year, which is crazy for them. They're almost always like undefeated.
Really? Is it 15?
They 11 on
11
11.
on
Yeah.
11, or they play sevens?
But yeah, they lost to, I think
Uh,
they lost to Wittenberg, Burnhamwood, and they
well,
lost to Stratford, and I think they lost another one too, which is just for them that's like crazy. They're always really tough. So I think maybe a little rebuilding year for Amherst.
yeah, they'll
Yeah.
bounce back.
So
Um, well, I have a question that I thought about over my time. I texted myself.
it's the only
Um,
text message I get really when I text myself.
oh, here's a question for the people out there in the land of sport, and this doesn't tie into just one sport. I know we're in soccer at our age group, but you see clubs now going to, and we're going to face this with SC Wave. They are rostering 30, 35 kids at their age group, and then they're plucking and poking kids to go play certain tournaments. Galaxy did it. Um, Galaxy did it when we were down there, right? They pulled in their top kids out of St. Louis to come back and play us our first time. But my question is, at what age group do you think it's okay for the team to just be about winning, where you no longer care who's practicing, you're not trying to build friendships, teams, all you care about is winning? And I had thrown that out to a couple of dads last night, and one of them he was pretty much 16, 17. When you get up in that junior range of high school, where you go to national tournaments, it's like we're going to national pro. What would be our thoughts if you just brought in two girls from Colorado that were fantastic, and all their job was to score? And you break down everything that we've practiced, and all of a sudden that's their job. You're seeing it more and more with these large clubs. And my question to anybody out there is just kind of when does it become okay, or if it's not okay? And it happens in baseball, it happens in football's different, but any of these big club sports, AAU basketball, they just go pick up kids and from all over, and
Bring
they
in
travel
ringers.
and play to win. Ringers, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a good
that's what we used to
question.
call them.
When just thinking about it, my initial reaction is that is there's probably gradients, right? Like it increases. So the way I initially think about this is when we get in my head, when you get to sixth grade, that's when you start having, an A and a B team, right? So it becomes a little bit more serious. And then you get into seventh grade, a little bit more serious, eighth grade, a little bit more serious. You start to have not as much equal playing time. It gets more and more. Now, when you start jumping up levels, when we're talking about club to state level or regional level or national level, I think that even increases more and more. The closer you get to 18, the more serious it becomes of it's only about winning. Now, I think if you were 15 and on a national team, like we kind of are, uh, I think it leans a little bit closer towards it's just kind of about winning. I mean, at some level, that's kind of that's what you're tasked to do at that level. It's not as much about playing time, and we've seen that, right? There's more. It's more about the winning, I think. So I guess I would probably lean towards if you're on a national team, maybe 15. Um, if you are on, let's say, a state level team or a regional team and you are 17, 18, I think that's the same thing kind of applies, right? I think once you get kind of past 18, it's about winning. Just, I, I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't think it's important to build the team and to have cohesiveness and all the other stuff. But the older you get, it's kind of that it's win or go home, right? I don't know. That's kind of the way I view it.
Yeah, no, and I think there's a large difference between club versus high school, right? I mean, club is all about, I think you're there to win. You're there to grow any way possible.
Hmm.
Over high school, you kind of build up to it. You know, you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, and they work the numbers to try to make sure they have so many sophomores and so many. Otherwise, you just get decimated right after one team graduates. We're in club, it's all in on winning. And I guess here's a side question: would you rather win a club state
High
championship or
school, not even
a high
close.
school championship? I think that's pretty easy, right? I mean, it's got to
Yeah,
be that. Name and lights. That wasn't that close. In my head, I'm
yeah.
like, ooh, maybe that's not a good question. But there's a
I think
club
it's a fair
national
question. I
championship.
just yeah. So now that would be a little bit. Now, would you rather win a national championship at club or a state championship at high school?
I'm still a state
I probably
championship high
would be
school
too, but
guy.
it's a lot closer there.
Yeah, no, I
And
agree.
here's I guess my reasoning on that.
Because of what you
If I
work
won
on
a
at
national
club.
championship at club, it might make the newspaper, right? It's going to kind of, but after 10 years, does anybody give a crap? Like I don't even know if it would be listed anywhere.
No,
I mean, maybe it would be at the club. Maybe the club would be putting it up somewhere like, hey, national champions. But if you win a state title, it's going up in the gym. It's going to be there forever. You're probably going in the Hall of Fame at your school. You're probably going to end up getting a parade through town. Nobody's doing that for a club team, even if you win nationals. I mean, fire truck. Yeah, I mean, just
fire
there's going to be a lot
trucks.
more hoopla. That's gonna
Right.
it's probably going to mean a lot more if you win state with your school than if you won a national title with your club. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I've never been around a national club, but
No, I think you. I, well, even we've won state cup
mhm.
in the club level. What 2 out of 3 years? They put a banner up, which was nice at the entrance to the park, but that was it. I mean, Macy, when Bayport made a run at state last year, within 3 days, the parents had T-shirts. We had, the fire truck out of town. There were 3 fire trucks and cop cars, and that was just
Right,
leaving town. That wasn't even winning it. So,
right.
I mean, we could imagine if we'd have won it, but I just think I'm a huge fan of that. I think you're right. High school, putting your name in, and like my Allie's name for sectional, they won
Right.
sectionals last year, so their
Hmm.
names in the gym on the tennis banner.
Yeah.
That's not
I
going
don't even think
anywhere.
it compares. I still am amazed when you look at club sports and the fans that are there. And don't get me wrong, the fans are great, right? When we go to our club games, we get people that show up from other age groups that watch the games and stuff, and it's great, right? It's really cool to see. But if you get to even just a regular hockey or a soccer game for Spash Bayport, there's just there's a broader reach. There's more people from the community that just show up just to watch. I look at when we have our hockey games, you got guys that old codgers that show up. They haven't they show up for the games. They got their gold pass. They get in free, and they've been coming for 20 years, right? They just they just like watching. You don't get that with club sports. It's just different. And that yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's just what parents and club people, right? I mean, I don't know, hockey, but I'm assuming it's the same.
Yep.
Club is all parents, and club is you you travel and you do your thing, and you hang out with club parents. Where high school is friends and family, and my parents come to all the high school stuff. They try to make it through
Hmm.
club, but it's hard. We travel all over. So yeah, as great as the club scene is, the high school scene I think still carries more
Yeah,
weight
and that's no knock on club. It's just
in that aspect.
it's just these schools are they're ingrained in your communities. I mean, people are paying taxes to them. They have vested interest in them, and so there's just a little bit more weight carried for that community. And I think the community takes pride in it as well. It's a little bit harder with club when you got players coming from, just look at our club. We come from multiple different communities. There's not that connection, right, for what we're doing.
Do you've lived in
Hmm.
Kimberly, and I don't know, your kids were probably real young back then, but do you see the small community, and we'll
Yeah,
call Point a smaller town. I think it's a decent sized town, but compared to do you think you get, my personal opinion, and you can answer this, is do you get more of the community outreach because there isn't seven high schools? You have Spash,
Pacelli. Yep, that's the
and
only
you have
other
other
one.
schools in the area, correct? Pacelli, Pacelli. But do, do you? But you
Yeah, I
you
would say
have
so. I
probably
mean,
more of
it's
a community base,
what's
correct?
interesting about Spash is that it's one of the broadest reaches when we talk about rural. I mean, there are kids that literally have to ride 45 minutes on a bus to get to us because we almost cover all of Portage County. We have Almond Bancroft, which is in Portage County, and then I believe Rosholt is still in Portage County as well. But really, I mean, almost everything feeds Spash, which is kind of nuts when you think about you got guys that are kids that are coming from a long distance away just to get to school. Um, so I think that hurts at some level because it kind of disperses. Like you'll get people from another community that are actually going to Spash, um, but it's also the only show in town. So that outside of Pacelli, it's the only public school show in town. So that does, I think that helps a little bit as well. And Pacelli is a good school, but it's not very large. It generally doesn't have, but it does have a lot of alumni in Stevens Point. So, um, a good school. It's just it's not doesn't have a ton of enrollment. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I would say,
yeah. No, because we've talked about it in my family here. Would you be better off going to a Pulaski instead of a Bayport where there's half the kids, or are you better off at a big school because they offer more? There's a lot more things you can get
hmm
into at Bayport than I ever got into at Promontory. All the new technology, all the size of the school, but it's also, the sports technically are better. There's more kids to choose from, but it's always one of those things. Growing up, you go to college, you run into buddies that played small town, and they just seem to have more of a town feel than the schools around here,
yeah.
and because we have so many
I don't know.
schools that we're
I do
dealing
think
with.
when I go to like when I went to Amherst even recently, we had a scheduling conflict. We had to send one of our games out to their field for soccer, and I will say the smaller community is tighter knit. I mean, you go into the grocery store in Amherst and it's rock and Amherst stuff, right? You come to Point, it's not rock and Spash stuff. So it feels like the bigger it gets, it doesn't have that same close knit feel. Um, and when it comes to things like sports, and I mean, you kind of know everybody, right? And when you go to Spash, there's a bunch of people in your class you don't even know, let alone in the school. So I do think that leads to some, for lack of better word, some disengagement. You just that is a problem when you have really large schools, and I'm sure that you guys run into that. Your enrollment's about the same as ours, I think, 9 through 12. You guys are right around 1900, yeah,
Nin-
which is about the same. I think we're just over 2000, so
1900,
it's about the
2000, yeah.
same. But it ends up being a little bit harder. Like I mean, I'll ask Sarah. Sometimes she'll run into people that graduated the same year as her at Spash. She doesn't even know who they are. So that to me is unheard of. What my high school, there was 70 kids in the graduating class. We knew everybody intimately, right? You knew everything about them, and not so it was a small school. So it's just a little bit different feel, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I don't know which better. I think both of them have their advantages and disadvantages, but it just need to see the small
Totally
towns
agree.
still
I
rally behind
I mean,
around the
and
sports
well, you look
and
at an
that.
Amherst, and they're adding on to their school, they're adding on to their tech ed. One thing I think that they're really good at in small communities like that is they rally around the school because everybody has a vested interest in it, and they're not afraid to. I mean, you look at their facilities out there. You've been there. beautiful facilities. They have awesome campus. They got the field right there. They've got all the bells and whistles. They do a really great job because everybody's kind of bought in. Whereas you come to Stevens Point, and if we tried to do like let's say we tried to hold a referendum to get a bigger like do something athletics, I don't think it would pass right now. Honestly, there's there's just not that feel for things are fine the way they are, right? And we're not going to spend money on what would be nice to have. So there's a totally different feel there. They're willing to put out some things to do a little bit differently in a smaller town because everybody's kind of drawn into it. And that's not a knock on our community. It's just a difference, right?
Yeah. Well, exactly. And if, a lot of these
Hmm.
communities, the young are getting out of high school and they're moving out. They're gone. They're not coming home. And so you wonder how long some of these smaller communities, not Spash is a large community, but there's some small communities out there that
You
they're
know,
going downhill because it's
See,
nobody
and I
wants
think
to
that's
live
where
there
we're
with
a
the
little bit
youth.
odd in that we have a really big school, but I mean, like Point is just under 30,000. If you throw in Plover, I think we end up being, right around 40,000. Um, so we're not huge. I mean, we're probably somewhere in the area of Kimberly size wise. I don't know what Kimberly is anymore. And weren't they in like mid 20s, 30,000? Yeah.
I would assume they're not like crazy big. They're
But
well,
but
they grow
they're
daily. If
part
everybody
of a
wants to
much
go there.
broader city, right? And so that's I think where it's a little bit different. There's a lot of people around Green Bay. There's a lot of people around, even though school wise they're probably a similar size, just a little different. So
Yeah. Well, I think that's half of Green Bay's problem. They need to get rid of about half the public schools and go to
who are we
three,
cutting?
right, and then build up from there because they got way too many. And
You don't have to answer that because that could get you in
well,
trouble.
can't go by sport, right? I do have
Yeah,
a list,
nobody cares.
but it doesn't
It's
mean
always hard
anything
though when
because
you try to
nobody
combine
cares.
districts. I mean, I know Wausau's going through that right
Um,
now, and that's really tough because you have people that are kind of there's history with those schools. There's a lot of emotion with those schools. That's where I went. It's proximity. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and but sometimes you have to do it. It just makes sense to consolidate.
yeah, and the Green Bay schools they're trying to close
Yeah.
7 elementary schools, and they're struggling to do that because all of a sudden everybody's like, "Why are you closing my school? My school's the best." And it's sometimes you take the name off the sheet and you just got to go a business decision. And
No.
not every school board's made up of business people.
Yeah. Exactly.
And we'll end that
Yeah.
there.
So, anyways, it's an interesting topic, but getting back to your original question, yeah, I do think that it's the state championship would definitely carry a little bit more weight.
Yes, yes, and you find out
Hmm.
when you play high level club that it is cutthroat, right? I mean, everybody seems to be out for themselves, and that's okay. But high school, you seem to be out for your classmate a little
Right.
more, your teammate. There's still rivalries inner team, but at the end of the day, you're pushing for the same cause, which I do believe in club. But it seems club is more you're willing
Right.
to trip
Agreed.
somebody and to step over them than to help them out.
Yeah.
And that's all club. That's not
Yeah, I would
one
agree with
sport
that.
specific. So on the other hand, you're
Yes.
traveling to Detroit Friday for 2 games, Saturday,
Yes,
Sunday. I will not
I
be
will be
able to
live
attend.
streaming
I
is
have a
my
wedding.
understanding as long as we make it there safely. So that'll be good. Um, and we'll see how it goes over there with good old Michigan. We get to play two different teams. Are we playing the Tigers? I didn't even look yet. No, Stars. That's right, Michigan
Mm,
Stars.
the Stars, and now things changed, but we had handily beaten these teams last year. So hopefully, but then again, we're
And they
down
probably ran into the
players.
same thing
We're
we did.
traveling
That when
with
they traveled
10
over
or
here, they probably
9,
lost half their
10.
players, which that's kind of what we're running into. We're coming over with you're missing a few and having call up some girls that are younger. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be hopefully safe travels. I explained this last time, but I broke the moral code of everything that I am for and against in flying my daughter. So appreciate Jamie Owens taking her. I think she's watching right now. I appreciate her letting me buy a plane ticket for my daughter because God
Crazy,
knows she can't
crazy.
be spending time in a car like that.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a fun drive.
And then,
Correct.
well, Sunday, then you with the
So
one
then we'll get
o'clock
home
game,
at
right?
10 o'clock. That'll be super exciting.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, you do gain an hour coming home. As long as Chicago doesn't
Chicago,
treat you wrong.
Chicago ruins
That's the one
everything.
city that
Period.
can just ruin everything.
Look at what they did to Justin Fields. I mean, come on.
The best is
He was so he was so good
great
before he
point.
got there. I mean,
He
look
lived
how
in
good he was.
Ohio and he
So
was
good.
fine.
Chicago ruined him.
Yeah. Do you
Mm,
think Chicago's like Gary 2.0? Because Gary, Indiana is probably the worst. The worst. It's in Indiana. I've already stated that.
You know
But
what's
then you
crazy
throw
is Chicago's
Chicago
like the
next
only
to it.
redeeming thing about Illinois, and that's not even saying much.
Just saying.
It's
It's not much out there.
for,
Not much out there besides
mm,
Chicago. Because even you go to Champaign, Champaign wasn't bad.
you know,
We stayed in Rantoul, but uh,
oof, yeah.
Rockford, Illinois. Oh, it's like
Everything's
Gary
compared to Gary.
2.3.
Pretty good gas
Terrible.
in Gary though. It's pretty cheap. Well, it used to be. I don't know. It used to be whenever you
Is
crossed
there
into
really?
Indiana, it was
Don't
decent.
have
I don't know if it
big
is
taxes?
anymore, but on the
How
way
many
over there,
times do
we'll
you have to
probably have to do it once.
charge your car on the
Yeah,
way to Detroit?
yeah. I'll catch a cat nap because that's what I'll do when it. Well, I'll catch a
Okay,
quick
that ain't
nap and then
bad.
we'll continue on our journey. 35 minutes, something
How
like
long does it
that.
take to charge a car?
It's not too bad. No, it's honestly by that time you're ready to walk around, you're ready to grab something, and
That
by the
ain't the
time you do
worst.
that, it's ready
No.
to go and you're good. It's I'll say this. I I'm not like a oh my God, you got to move everything to electric vehicles, but it's really not as bad as what most people think. I've got 140,000 miles on that car, and it's been an awesome car. I mean, I mean, I'm not trying to sell you anybody on it, but they're good. I mean, they've been very. I've taken it to Dallas. I've taken it to Cincinnati. I've taken it all over the country, and it does really well. It doesn't add as much time as people think because you usually stop around. You stop around when you need to do things. So is it faster than gas? Definitely not, right? You can't run. But typically, when you go, like even when we take our van somewhere, you stop, you get gas, kids do potty breaks, looking for food. By the time you're done, it's half hour, right? And so you're not really you're not really changing that much up. So in my opinion, it doesn't
Yeah.
add a lot of time, but when you do really long trips, it does add time on because inevitably you end up having to stop a little bit more. But I don't know. For me, it's been worth it, and it's been great when we've had to do these, all this driving. I mean, we put 4,000 miles on that thing in the last month. And when you
Yeah.
talk about, you know, we have solar at our house, it kind of made a big
Holy cow.
difference in a lot of cost for driving. I don't know if we could do it without it, honestly. So, Yeah, I put it in myself.
right? You have solar too?
Weird like that. I don't know if it is. I
That's
I
so great.
drilled caissons and everything. I put in like
So
concrete
great.
pillars into the ground and put in a whole mounting system and hooked it all up. It was a good time. Bought it. I bought it. Oh yeah, I've had it for five. Well, I put it in 2016.
Does it work?
I've had it since way before the car. But yeah, I put it in myself and I wired the whole dumb thing. The only thing I didn't do was I didn't connect it to the grid. I wired it all up to there and then I let him do that. And that's too much. And I can't. I'm not allowed to do that. So, but yeah, it was,
Right. Do you
mine's not
sell
quite
power?
that big.
Do you
There are
sell
months that
power
we
then to
have,
the
but
power
yeah, generally
companies?
speaking, no. Yeah, it's a good time.
Just run the
That's
toaster.
right.
Just turn the blender
But no,
on. He's like, turn it
I
on.
don't know.
We'll
I kind
burn
of
some
it's right.
power.
I don't even see it because it's behind our barn, so it just does its thing back there. Every few like every month or so, I go out and adjust it just to get the tilt a little better, so it gets better sun. I don't know. It's pretty easy. The Blue Barn Scoots, baby.
That's behind the blue barn.
Yeah, we're winding that thing down. We it went great. I mean,
How's
it
that
was
going?
people were awesome. They supported
People
us
want to
really
know.
well. But we now the school has started. I cannot make runs to Madison to pick ice cream up, so we're basically just running inventory at this point. So maybe one of these days we'll figure out something. But yeah, we're basically winding it down. We have one event on Friday of all days, right? That I booked that before I ever knew we were going to Detroit. So I got to do that one, and as soon as it's done, we're getting in the car and heading out. So it'll be a good time. Starts at 6:30.
How late is that going to go?
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun.
Sounds awesome.
I
Super
did. Yes,
Dad.
we were
Hey,
riding
did
down
you book
together.
that
That is
flight
gonna be a good
for
one. Thank
Orlando
you for
with
sending
us?
that over because we were panicking because we had passed on one earlier and
Yeah.
we're like, oh my God, we're never gonna find anything. We're never gonna find anything. And Sarah was getting a little frustrated with me because I couldn't pull the trigger. She's like, no, it's gonna cost us more money. I'm like, oh God. And then you sent me that text, saved my bacon, saved it. 'Cause I was in the doghouse.
I was, I was looking and kept checking Frontier and all these, and I'm like just dejected, right? Because
Yeah,
yeah, by the time you add everything on and pick your chair, it's $9,000.
book it is right,
And Uncle
man. That's
Johnny
a good.
came through and
You
he's
found a
like,
good
"How
one.
about this?" And I'm
Southwest to the
like, "Book
rescue.
it."
I do too. Yeah, they don't. You can't pick your
Yeah,
seats,
and I
but
like
it is what it
Southwest.
is. I don't.
I think they
It's
got
fine. It's like
TVs
whatever.
and you get a bag, right? Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah,
I got a
it'll be
feeling there'll
good.
be
We'll have a
plenty of
nice little
seats to
crew
sit
going
in,
down
so you
there.
can
So yeah, we'll
sit
meet
next
you
to
at the
each other,
airport. I
whatever
know
you
you
got
guys
to
are
do.
heading down probably a little before us, but we're gonna jump out. We'll exit school and head straight that way. So it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I'll keep it. There's usually some good
Oh yeah,
parking
let me
down
know
there
where
where you
you end up
can pay
going.
in advance
It's
and
usually
pay
not too
pretty
bad
cheap
though.
for a couple days. Yeah. No, and they got a shuttle that takes you there and picks you up at the. So there's some ways around it.
You give me the
Like I
tips,
said, Uncle
what
Johnny
Johnny
knows
gives
all
you.
that stuff, so I let him lead and I just follow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
All
don't
right.
even keep
Well,
them
cool, man.
myself.
This is a good one. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah. No, great conversation tonight. Couple nice topics. Hopefully people chime in and like the Facebook page and YouTube and do all that
That's right.
stuff so
Hopefully we
we
get a
can
little more
get back
consistent here too. So
on
past
our
the
road to
craziness of
success.
the start of the school year. So it'll work out. Awesome. You too, man.
Right.
Take care.
Well, good. Well, you enjoy the evening. Thanks.